Awesome. The last or the second, no, the third last session for the year. And once again, very privileged to have my old friend Suzanne here. Always have good conversations. This year, I asked Suzanne, what does she want to talk to me about? And she said she wanted to challenge me on some of my ideas. So, Suzanne, the floor
challenge
is
away.
yours.
All right. Well, that was a very short introduction, and I am still working my way through. Okay, here we go. So, so this is going to be my last fulfilling thoughts before I go on holiday. So if I'm a little bit distracted, that's why, because my brain is about used up for the year. Sure. I saw two things, and the more I thought about innovation, I think it's become a buzzword. I'm going to challenge you with that. And, we talk about buzzword bingo, and everybody says, "Oh, let's just talk about innovation," then everybody's happy. We originally approached this idea, or you originally approached this idea with solve problems and innovate. And I liked that idea, and I thought, oh, gee whiz, okay. But I immediately focused on the innovation. I didn't hear the solve problems piece. So this morning, I went out and looked at what other people have talked about this year for you. And then I decided to say, you know what? We really haven't touched innovation directly.
Yeah.
A lot of great topics and a lot of great learning. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed quite a few of them. And I think, when I went out and I was starting to look at some of these ideas, I have found out that innovation has been standardized. We have now an innovation management system. We talk about managing innovation over and over again, about making sure we throw enough money at innovation. And I'm like, okay, we're throwing money at innovation, and what are our results? And then we talk about innovation differentiates managers from leadership. I've seen that one. And that innovation is evolutionary. So you don't have to be radical all the time. And so I'm using some big quotes from some big people. The last two were from Steve Jobs, and then the very last one was from Jeff Bezos. But the one that I really wanted to really hit on is the one that says proved used to be imagined. And I start thinking about service management. And what have we imagined lately? What has been different? I work in the standards community now pretty much 100%. And, you start thinking about standards and you say, well, how can you innovate? And I will tell you that my work group is probably one of the most innovative out there. But at the same time, we're constrained by a standard. So how do you combine standard and innovation? So that's my question to you. And I'm glad to see a stumped face. So I've achieved my goal.
Let's. I must now remember it's etymology, the study of the origin of words.
Yeah, etymology.
I think so. I hope I'm not talking about. Insects now.
Yeah, insects, birds.
I think that's entomology.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that the root word of innovation is novo or nova, which means new. Mm-hmm. And if you take the prefix and the suffix, it actually means to introduce new qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can remember when I talked in the Blue Book about innovation, I said there were actually 5 types of innovation. Mm. And many of those, as I describe it, you would listen to it and say, it's not innovative. But if it introduces some new qualities that's of benefit to the organization, then it can be innovation. It doesn't necessarily have to be new for everyone. It can be new for the organization. Yeah. I just think, unfortunately, that far too much has been made of the latter end of that tail. The stuff that we make products better, and we maybe tweak products for new customers, or we do some cool stuff in terms of delivering our products and services differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the new idea for me is missing, and that's the hard part of innovation. How do you truly come up with something that is new? Yeah,
Right.
not only new
And that's
quality.
invention. Coming up with something new is invention. And I wonder, and I'm glad that you said it, and I know I cut you off, so I apologize. But
No, it's
how many
fine.
organizations are mixing the two? Are they looking for innovation, or are they looking for invention? And they're disappointed in both fields.
Yeah. So I think that the problem is that inventing something new is really difficult. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And often, if we come up with ideas like that, it fails. And then
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Yeah, but we're not innovative. We can't innovate." Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wrong attitude. Um, Maybe if people warned us up front that you know to invent something new is really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, that's sitting in the complex domain. Yeah, you're going to fail a lot before you get something right. But if, like Steve Jobs, you get something right, then you've got the opportunity to change the world.
Yeah, it's huge. It's big. Right. Exactly. But how, you think about the probability of that happening, and it's way out there on the probability side of
Yeah,
actually achieving something new. And I know that we're inventing things on a daily basis that we've not yet seen. We're going to continue to invent just because we're going to continue to mature and evolve as technologists, as a species, as a race. And to me, I look at business and service management. I saw a quote too that said that business is only two things: marketing and invention. And I thought that was incredibly good. That's exactly what business is.
mm,
You think about standards, you think about traditions, and you think about, many other things that we've done in life, and even in service management. It's that we keep doing the same things because we always have. So the enemy of invention is that phrase,
mm,
just because we always have. And in your experience and in my
mm,
experience, that is an incredible hill to get over with any organization and any management system, just because we always have. And is that
yeah.
because we're lazy? Is it because we're afraid? Is it because,
No,
you know?
I think it's not laziness. First of all, the quote that you just gave is Peter Drucker. I love Peter Drucker. Most of the wisest words ever
Mm,
came out of a person's mouth was out of that man's mouth. Um,
mhm,
but I mean, Jeffrey Moore specifically identified the chasm as a real thing for that specific reason. Yeah.
mhm,
Um, so I don't think I don't think we're lazy. Um, But I also do think that unless organizations purposefully create environments in which seemingly risky behavior can incubate until we can prove it to be useful or not,
mhm.
is extremely necessary. And too few organizations do
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
And the idea in terms of that incubator is to utilize the resources of the organization, but not the constraints of the organization. That means you cannot use the existing governance system of the organization
Mhm.
because the immune system will use the rules that we've created to attack the new idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. And you think about and if we just stay in the IT realm or the technology realm, and we start thinking about how we fund IT, and the tradition is that most of the money goes to what's broken instead of figuring out what should be new, or repetitive fixes, something along that line. And I have very rarely come across an organization that will, divide out the budget and say, okay, we have 30% here that we can play with. And let's put it in that incubator. Let's put it in, a thought process team or an innovation solution. Come up with something, create the 1 month you have a project that you can work on no matter what it is, and produce something at the end of the month, and let's see if we can populate it across our organization or across industry. You think about the big guys, Google, Microsoft, HP, Amazon. All of these types of organizations seem to have some sort of incubator. What about the little guys?
So Amazon spends 8% of their revenue on innovation. And that does not include operational improvement. They don't see that as innovation.
Right.
Tesla at times has spent as much as 20% of their revenue. Imagine that. Remember, I'm talking about the revenue. I'm not talking about profit,
Yeah. Right.
So that's quite scary. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to motivate leadership in an organization to actually have a very aggressive innovation budget. But then set a rule. Remember, we talked about the 5 types. So the first 2 types is what you would call innovation. Yeah. And the other 2 types are product related, but it's new qualities. Yeah. And the last one is the way how we do things, new ways. Okay.
Right.
When we talk to customers, we say that operational improvement bit, that's not part of your innovation budget. The first 4 is, and you need to split the funds half. So for as much money that you spend on making your current products better, you must spend on trying to create something new. And unless you've got that fixed target, it just doesn't happen. Those funds always gets channeled.
Shuffled. Yeah. They just move on down the road to something else very quietly and discreetly, and it's at a loss at the end of the year. You're going, where did they go?
And another reason for that innovation space, because the innovation space carries the funds to do the innovation. If you leave the funds in the hands of the operational manager that need to innovate in their space, it goes to maintenance.
Yeah, it becomes maintenance. Yeah. Okay. So taking that and saying, here's where our funds go. I'm going to go back to just one of my opening thoughts here, which was around standards. Is that a group in the ISO community has created a guidance document for innovation management, and they're working on a requirements document for innovation management. And the number that you can get at this point is ISO 56002. That's the guidance document. So 56002. And it's quite interesting. So I'm going to ask you the basis, because they are following Annex SL, which is the high-level structure for all management system standards, which has a set of clauses and requirements, and then you add to them based on what your point of focus is. This group has looked at and said innovation follows PDCA. Plan, Do, Check, Act. What do you think? Because, I'm going to say, what do you think? And I'll say because.
Okay, so to me, it sounds like type 3 and 4 innovation.
It's actually as a what?
The type 3 and 4 innovation that we talk about in Adapted. So that is, you've got a product and you try and make that product either new and sexy, or you try and use what you've learned to corner a new target audience. The problem that I've got with plan is plan assumes that there's something to plan, that there's something that you know.
Right.
And I think that negates the catalyst for unique change, and that is imagining
Mm-hmm.
and discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not all stuff that we came up with because we had this epiphany in the middle of the night. You may be
Right.
standing at the petrol station, looking at somebody doing something, you go, isn't that really stupid? They should rather. Okay, that's an innovative thought,
Mm-hmm.
because you took your understanding of your context and the way where you operate and do things, and you applied it to a new environment. Um,
Right.
you can't plan that. Uh,
Right.
Um, and that's the problem that I've got with that approach. Um,
Okay. So pause there for a second. And let's just say, let's look at the last three: do, check, and act. And that's definitely innovation, because we ask people to come up with things. So do, check to see if they work, and then continue on the way. What if plan actually said, we're giving you the space, not planning the innovation, but we're planning within our organization that you have the space, the resources, the time, the governance to say, do, check, and act as many times as you need to, and we're supporting it here with plan. Then PDCA works. Yes?
I agree that there should be a management system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, I said that the innovation space should have should be should not have the same constraints as the rest of the organization. That doesn't mean that it's not constrained.
Right. Right.
It does have a management system, and there are rules. The rules are just different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so somebody can't then say, yes, but you can't make that decision because our investment criteria says XYZ. Sorry, your
Mm-hmm.
investment criteria doesn't count. Yeah, we're in a different organization now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's exactly what I try to achieve with Adapt, is to give people ideas on how they can build an iterative um, innovation system, for the lack of a better word, yeah,
Right.
as we talk about
Right.
a service management system, yeah, an
Right. Right. Right.
innovation system that you can work through over and over and over, and it is iterative. The
Mm-hmm.
cycles we've defined as 3 months, um,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the outcomes are 2, 3, 4 years down the line, but it doesn't mean that you don't go through the cycle and,
Right.
look at feedback and look at the world around you and look at new technology and look at how people socially um, respond
Mm-hmm.
to new things out there. Um, and then, so like in rules, but you should have a system.
Mm.
And
And
innovation
I
is a
think,
process. You can learn it. Yeah, it's.
right.
I mean, if it wasn't the process, I couldn't write that.
Right. It has to be innovative, and you've hit the nail on the head in the blue book. I mean,
Okay.
you really have.
So
Okay. Go ahead. You can finish.
no. I didn't close my door today because we hit 100, um, and it's a bit
Oh,
stuffy in my office. So my wife thought I
okay.
was available, and she's running in with a camera showing me, check.
Yeah.
So sorry for the distraction.
No worries. No worries.
Uh,
Uh, you did hit the nail on the head in the blue book about how to out innovate and what is innovation. And I think every manager and leader should read that book. Management and leadership are very different, but innovation is the
yes.
one that separates them out. Leaders and managers, is that we expect leaders to be innovative. um,
Yeah.
so how So here's my other question for you, and I know that we're kind of getting close on time here, which is great. But this is another piece that absolutely fascinates me, because this is what I did in a previous life, was looking at personality
Mhm.
characteristics. Um, so is innovation something that is ingrained, or can you teach it? And if you're going to teach innovation, what do you focus on?
Okay, so two things that you need to focus on. Number one is management mindset, because if the organization's leadership is not going to allow you to act and do and behave differently, it's not going to happen. So that means you also need to change the metrics in the organization.
Hmm.
Because that was Einstein who said you can't expect new results with old metrics. Yes,
Right.
yeah. So that's the
Hmm.
first thing you need to fix that, and that implies also then that, because of the mindset change, the resources will be made available, and then you actively need to teach everybody ways of thinking, and that basically means teach them an innovation method. Yeah.
Hmm.
So our stuff is predominantly a mix of um, jobs to be done in design sprints. So we call it
Okay.
innovation sprints. Um,
Yep.
and the design sprint idea is actually just a rapid design thinking approach. The thing that I don't like about the standard design thinking process is that it starts with empathize, and I don't have an issue with empathy. I think you should have empathy.
You
The
should have
problem
empathy.
is people think that gives them license to go and sit in a little room somewhere and imagine things about people that they don't understand, and
Right.
then come up with solutions for them. We've
Hmm.
changed that. We've changed that to understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't really understand somebody unless you've got empathy. But you also can't understand somebody unless you go and talk to them,
Exactly. Exactly.
and have a conversation with them. And part of that conversation is to actually challenge them. Yeah. Henry Ford said if he asked people what they wanted, they would have told him faster horses.
Yep.
Um, so quite often our customers don't know what they want. I mean, that's the whole purpose of jobs to be done, is to discover customer needs and to have a meaningful conversation. Yeah.
It,
Incidentally, next week I'm running two jobs to be done workshops. Um, I'll share the detail a little bit later.
okay. So here's the thing. Can you develop innovation and an innovation mindset in anybody? Because when I think about innovation, there's critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, communication, as you said, collaboration, um, uh, willing to take risks.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you
Let's start
think
with the
about,
last one.
yeah,
Willing to
willing
take
to take
risk.
risks. Yep.
Willing to take risk is to a large extent a factor of leadership within the organization.
Hmm.
Because unless the process is blameless, don't expect any results. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So it must be a safe place for people to experiment. Yeah.
Right.
All the other stuff, all, yeah, can be taught. We may not all be as good at it as everyone else,
Hmm.
but you can teach it.
Yep.
And what we found over the last 3 years is the people who follows the process, even if they're less talented, have better results than talented people who doesn't follow the process.
Hmm. Yeah. So, you think about the work environment today, and we're still split between, in-house, work at home, virtual working, and now we have the influx of new generations of workers. How do we curtail, or not even curtail, but contain?
Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking for something.
Okay. Or I was like, wow, you're really thinking deeply because you're looking up and your eyes are in the back of your head. And I'm like, wow, this is a good question. But how do we get that next generation who may or may not ever engage with, coworkers, right? Face to face. We struggle right now in having meetings that we're constantly on Zoom meetings or whatever. And you miss that physical connection. So how do we get organizations, or how do we maintain, or innovation, not as a buzzword, but as a great output of an organization? I've kind of answered my own question, but I'd kind of like to hear what you had to think. And you're thinking deeply.
No, I've got some. I just want to close some stuff. Just hang on a second.
Okay. All right. Oh, there you go.
Because if I close it, then my machine is most probably a bit overburdened.
Okay.
Okay. So, just because the new generation doesn't communicate the way that we do, don't assume that they don't communicate.
Right.
Okay. So, my youngest son is 29. Last night, I was sitting in my office late because I was doing a course in America, and once again it was hot, so my door was open. He was sitting on the stoop, the veranda. His girlfriend was sitting upstairs in their flat, and it sounded like at least 5 other voices in a conversation, and they just visited for 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Like we used to do it physically. Yeah. And every now and then, again, you just hear somebody says, wait, I'm just going to get myself a drink. And the conversation was quite boisterous and loud. So I don't think we need, or it would be dangerous to assume, because other people or youngsters or other generations don't do things the way we do, that they are missing the skills. They're actually very good communicators. They've got a really good idea of what is important for them, and they've got a good sense of community also. We were idiots. We worked ourselves to the bone for a boss that didn't care.
Right.
They don't do shit like that. Yeah. If we show them that we, as the leadership of the organization, care about our community and about people who works within the organization, and remember, our community is mostly our customers. Yeah. That's the people who we create value for. It works.
Yeah.
I find it much easier to actually to work with the next generations than it is for me to actually share some of these concepts with us, Xers and boomers. Yeah.
So it seems to me that innovation is rather a product of an environment rather than a skill or an outcome that somebody is trying to achieve. An organization say, okay, we need to innovate. Okay. And people sit there and kind of go flat. But if we have the environment where risk can be taken in a controlled environment, that it is celebrated, that it's communicated, that we have creative, critical thinkers that will collaborate. It seems like we have to focus on a lot of other things to get the benefit of innovation. If we just focus on innovation ourselves, somebody says, come up with a new idea, and you're like, why or what? But yet, if we have all of the other skills, so we start talking about people skills and what is going on in individuals' lives and anything else, almost innovation should not be a buzzword. but rather the working environment that will support the innovation as the outcome should be the focus. What do you think on that?
I agree. And I also think that your innovation method that you use should leave room for all of these external, if not, um, let's call them triggers or catalysts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For people to be able to say, you see, at the end of the day, what we want is what we want people to bring their full experience to work, yeah, and to be a full human being. Because
Right.
if we can engage people fully, and they can be fully committed to their engagement with our customers, how can it not be a better place?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but that means command and control is dead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the short courses that I'm busy writing at the moment is actually, or workshops, is specifically for our generation managers to talk about the things that they need to unlearn and relearn.
Right.
I
That's a good
think,
course.
yeah, I think boomers and X's is actually the biggest problem at the moment in terms of us creating a new future. Um, and if you just look at all of the conflict all over the world, it's driven by our generation.
Right.
Yeah, it's not driven by the new generation. Uh,
Hmm. That's an
Bunch of
interesting thought. I
maniacal
hadn't thought of it
old
that way.
people with terrible ideas.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Huh. Exactly. And the old people send the young people who have the better ideas out to fight their battles, which is completely
yeah,
backwards. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a veteran, if I had the choice not to go and fight, um, I would have rather not done that. Yeah,
Well, I mean, who wouldn't have? Let's be honest. You would think, I realize there's a level of patriotism and, desire for your country and rights and everybody's own personal thoughts. But if we can solve this without mortal combat, that would be a much
yeah,
better way of looking at things. You can still fight, but you don't have to lose one's life over it, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's maybe one of the things that I have got a problem with the newer generation is this entitlement of being right and um, especially the right to be offended.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got a right to be offended, absolutely. But
Right.
remember, it's a choice first, and then you must face the consequences. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
so this is a very interesting conversation that can go on for very long, and I think we should both collect our thoughts. And the opening salvo for 2024 must be a continuation of this conversation because
I would
we're
be
on
interested.
33 minutes.
Yep. Yep. Can I say one more thing? Can I say one
Yeah,
more thing? And it's kind of like a disclaimer. I mentioned 56002 as a guidance
yeah.
document for innovation management. I want to say that it is a very enlightened document, even though it's written as a standard. It has every concept that you and I have just talked about in that document, and it is a standard. So it's a guidance document that
Well,
they're looking to move forward. So it's worth looking at, and I'm hoping that I didn't come across as that I was beleaguering it or something along that line. I certainly was not, but I would love to
yeah.
continue the
I
conversation.
understand the Annex SL approach of Plan, Do, Check, Act,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying it needs to be different planning. And I think that
Hmm.
you hit the hammer on the nail. It's not about planning what you're going to innovate. It's about planning, putting all the stuff in place so that you can innovate. And if that's what
Correct.
plan is in that context, awesome, that will work. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
Suzanne,
Yep.
as
Cool.
always, lots of fun. Stay on for the wash. What's it? Wash off,
Yep.
wash. Yeah, the thing afterwards that we just quickly chat.
Oh,
Everybody
yes, yes, yes.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
listening,
yeah.
if we don't talk again until next year when we do this session again, um, I wish you and your family and your loved ones a very special time until we meet again. Suzanne, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
And
We'll talk
if
again in
anybody
2024.
wants to contact Suzanne, let me just get that back on again, and go to the right screen here. Terrible. Haven't practiced this before. Okay. So
There it is.
please do contact her, connect.
Yep.
Last two things that I just quickly want to say before I go. Um, do look at the other sessions for the year. Um, I will post it as a comment in LinkedIn and Facebook also, where you can go to the channel, the podcast channel, and then next week I've got two sessions. It's not long sessions; they're about 4 hours long. That I'm going to teach people how to do jobs to be done. Very easy to get to the landing page, agile-adapt /workshops /null_customer_requirements PHP. Go and check it out. I think you will enjoy the workshop. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.